On the evening of July 8, 2026, one of the most unforgettable voices in popular music fell silent forever. Bonnie Tyler passed away at the age of 75 after suffering complications following emergency intestinal surgery while receiving treatment in Portugal. The news spread across the world within minutes, leaving millions of fans struggling to accept that the woman whose powerful voice had defined generations was gone. But in the days that followed her passing, another story quietly began to unfold. As her loved ones carefully went through the personal belongings she had left behind, they discovered something that wasn't measured by money or fame. What they found revealed the woman behind the legendary voice, and left everyone who knew her deeply emotional. This is the story of Bonnie Tyler's remarkable journey, the final chapter of her life, and the legacy that reached far beyond platinum records and sold-out arenas. Stay with us until the very end, because the final discovery helps explain why Bonnie Tyler meant so much to millions of people across the world. Long before the standing ovations, the chart-topping hits, and the unmistakable raspy voice that could fill an entire stadium, Bonnie Tyler was simply a little girl growing up in South Wales. She was born Gaynor Hopkins on June 8, 1951, in the village of Skewen, near Neath. She was one of 6 children born to Elsie and Gaynor Hopkins. Her father worked as a coal miner, while her mother shared a deep love for music and often filled the family home with songs. It wasn't a wealthy household, but it was one filled with warmth, faith, and hard work. Music became Gaynor's escape almost as early as she could remember. As a child, she listened closely to artists like Tina Turner and Janis Joplin. Their emotional performances fascinated her. She admired singers who didn't just perform songs, they seemed to live every word they sang. Even then, she dreamed of one day standing on a stage herself. Those dreams felt distant. Like many young people growing up in working-class Wales during the 1950s and 1960s, she expected life would involve ordinary jobs rather than international fame. After leaving school, she worked in shops and local businesses while singing whenever she had the opportunity. Nights were often spent performing in clubs with local bands, slowly building confidence in front of audiences that had never heard her name before. Everything changed after she entered a local talent competition. Although she didn't win, someone in the audience noticed something special about her voice and stage presence. That introduction eventually led her to producer Roger Bell, who helped launch her professional career. Together they searched for a stage name that would be memorable and marketable. Gaynor Hopkins became Bonnie Tyler. The new name marked the beginning of a completely different life. Her first recordings attracted attention in Britain, but it was the release of Lost in France in 1976 that introduced her to a wider audience. Critics praised the emotion in her voice, and listeners immediately recognized that she sounded different from almost every other singer on the radio. Then came an unexpected setback that could easily have ended her career before it truly began. Doctors discovered nodules on her vocal cords and recommended surgery. The operation itself was successful, but recovery required complete silence. Bonnie later admitted she struggled to follow those instructions. She spoke too soon during the healing process, permanently changing her voice. For many singers, that would have been devastating. Instead, it became one of the most extraordinary twists in music history. The smooth voice she once possessed was replaced by the raw, husky, emotional sound that audiences would eventually recognize within seconds. What first seemed like a terrible loss became the defining feature of her career. In 1978, It's a Heartache exploded onto charts around the world. The song reached the top 5 in the United States and became an international phenomenon. Bonnie Tyler was no longer an emerging Welsh singer. She had become a global star whose voice carried heartbreak with a level of authenticity few artists could match. Yet the biggest chapter of her career was still waiting. In the early 1980s, songwriter and producer Jim Steinman envisioned a dramatic rock ballad unlike anything on the charts. The result was Total Eclipse of the Heart. Released in 1983, the song became an international sensation. It reached #1 in multiple countries, earned Grammy nominations, and transformed Bonnie Tyler into one of the defining voices of the decade. Even decades later, the song continued finding new audiences, returning to streaming charts during solar eclipses and becoming one of the most recognizable power ballads ever recorded. Only a year later, she delivered another anthem with Holding Out for a Hero. Featured in the film Footloose, the song became another cultural landmark. Its energy, urgency, and unforgettable chorus helped ensure Bonnie Tyler's music would continue appearing in movies, television shows, sporting events, and celebrations for generations. Across more than 5 decades, She released 18 studio albums, toured around the world, earned multiple platinum certifications, received Grammy nominations, represented the United Kingdom at the Eurovision Song Contest in 2013, and was appointed an MBE for services to music. Through changing trends and changing generations, her voice never stopped connecting with listeners. Away from the spotlight, however, Bonnie Tyler lived a remarkably grounded life. Her greatest constant was her husband, Robert Sullivan. The two married in 1973, years before international fame arrived. While the music industry often became known for short-lived relationships and constant headlines, there's remained one of its quiet success stories. Robert largely stayed away from publicity, allowing Bonnie to shine while providing the stability that kept her life balanced. Friends often describe their marriage as one built on loyalty, humor, and genuine partnership that lasted more than 5 decades. Those who met Bonnie away from concert stages frequently described someone surprisingly down-to-earth. She enjoyed laughter, treasured long-time friendships, and never forgot the Welsh roots that shaped her. Fans often recalled how generous she was with her time, stopping for conversations, photographs, and autographs even after exhausting performances. For Bonnie Tyler, success was never measured only by awards or record sales. It was measured by the people whose lives her songs touched. For decades, she stood before audiences around the world, pouring every ounce of emotion into every performance. Few could have imagined that after surviving the challenges that shaped her extraordinary career, an unexpected health crisis would soon bring one of music's most unforgettable voices to a heartbreaking conclusion. For much of her career, Bonnie Tyler seemed almost unstoppable. She had endured the uncertainty of the music business, transformed what could have been a career-ending vocal injury into her greatest strength, and continued performing well into her 70s. While many of her contemporaries had long since retired, Bonnie remained committed to her audiences. Whether she was performing in packed theaters, appearing at festivals, or taking part in television specials, she still approached every performance with the same determination that had carried her from a small Welsh village to stages around the world. Behind the scenes, however, age was beginning to demand a heavier price. Those close to her knew she had gradually become more selective about her schedule. Long international tours were no longer as easy as they had once been, and she increasingly valued time spent away from the spotlight with her husband, Robert Sullivan, family, and close friends. Even so, she remained optimistic whenever she spoke publicly, expressing gratitude that she could still do what she loved after more than 5 decades in music. Then, in the summer of 2026, everything changed. While staying in Portugal, Bonnie experienced a sudden medical emergency involving her intestines. Doctors determined that immediate surgery was necessary. Given the seriousness of the condition, there was little time to delay treatment. She was admitted to the hospital and underwent emergency intestinal surgery as specialists worked to stabilize her condition. At first, there was cautious optimism. Medical teams successfully completed the procedure and monitored her closely during the critical hours that followed. But as sometimes happens after major emergency surgery, complications developed. Her condition became increasingly fragile, requiring intensive care as doctors fought to prevent further deterioration. As those complications grew more severe, Bonnie was placed into a medically induced coma to give her body the best possible chance to recover while reducing the strain on her vital organs. It was a decision made out of hope, not surrender. Inside the hospital, machines replaced the applause that had followed her throughout her career. Outside, a different kind of audience waited. Family members remained close to her bedside, refusing to leave for long. Robert Sullivan, the man who had stood beside her since before the world knew her name, stayed with her throughout the ordeal. The couple had shared more than 50 years of marriage, and those final days reflected the same quiet devotion that had defined their relationship from the beginning. As news of her hospitalization became public, messages began arriving from every corner of the globe. Fans posted photographs from concerts they had attended decades earlier. Others shared stories of weddings, graduations, and personal milestones where Bonnie's songs had provided the soundtrack to some of life's most unforgettable moments. Radio stations replayed her greatest hits, while social media filled with words of encouragement from listeners hoping for another miracle. Many fellow musicians also expressed their support, remembering Bonnie not only as a remarkable vocalist but as someone whose warmth matched the power of her performances. Those who had toured with her often describe her as generous, funny, and remarkably unaffected by fame despite decades of international success. Throughout those difficult days, updates remained limited. Hospital staff focused on her care, while those close to the family asked the public to respect their privacy and continue hoping for recovery. Every small sign of stability brought renewed optimism, but the medical reality remained extremely serious. Despite every effort by her doctors, Bonnie's condition continued to worsen. On July 8, 2026, surrounded by loved ones, Bonnie Tyler passed away at the age of 75 after suffering complications following the emergency intestinal surgery she had undergone while receiving treatment in Portugal. News of her death was confirmed publicly later that day, bringing an end to one of popular music's most extraordinary careers. APnews.com. The reaction was immediate. Across Europe, North America, Australia, and countless other countries, tributes poured in from artists whose own careers had been inspired by her fearless style. Television networks interrupted programming to remember her achievements. Newspapers dedicated front pages to the woman whose unmistakable voice had become part of music history. Fans gathered outside concert venues where she had once performed, leaving flowers, candles, handwritten notes, and copies of her albums. Many simply played Total Eclipse of the Heart, or It's a Heartache, allowing the music to express emotions that words could not. Streaming platforms soon reflected what millions were already doing. Bonnie Tyler's greatest songs climbed rapidly in listening numbers as longtime admirers revisited the music that had accompanied so many chapters of their lives, while younger listeners discovered her catalog for the first time. Once again, her voice echoed across homes, cars, and headphones around the world. Proof that truly timeless music never disappears, even after the artist is gone. For those who had known Bonnie personally, the grief extended far beyond the loss of a celebrated performer. They mourned a wife, a friend, a colleague, and a woman who had never allowed fame to erase the kindness that defined her private life. Behind every platinum record had been someone who valued loyalty over celebrity, relationships over headlines, and gratitude over recognition. As heartbreaking as Bonnie Tyler's passing was, what happened next surprised even the people who knew her best. When her loved ones finally entered the places she called home and carefully began sorting through everything she had left behind, they discovered something far more valuable than wealth, a legacy that no amount of money could ever replace. The days after Bonnie Tyler's funeral were filled with a quiet kind of emotion. The concerts had ended. The microphones were silent. The flood of public tributes slowly gave way to private moments shared only by those who had loved her most. Eventually, family members and those entrusted with managing her personal affairs began the difficult task that follows the passing of so many beloved artists. They carefully entered the homes where Bonnie had spent her life away from the spotlight, sorting through decades of memories that stretched back long before the world knew her name. Among her belongings were the kinds of items that often matter most after someone is gone. Not because they are expensive, but because they carry memories no amount of money can replace. Photographs spanning decades told the story of a young woman from Wales who became one of the world's most recognizable voices while remaining deeply connected to her family and closest friends. There were images from the earliest years of her career, taken long before sold-out arenas and international television appearances became part of everyday life. Smiling backstage with fellow musicians, laughing during rehearsals, posing beside tour buses, and celebrating milestones with the people who had walked beside her throughout the journey. Every photograph represented a chapter that audiences rarely saw. There were also countless reminders of the extraordinary career she had built. Awards collected over more than 50 years. Gold and platinum records marking songs that crossed continents. Concert posters from tours that introduced her music to millions. Passes, credentials, handwritten set lists, and carefully preserved memorabilia that reflected decades spent doing what she loved. To outsiders, these objects represented fame. To those closest to Bonnie, they represented years of dedication. Each award carried memories of endless travel, long recording sessions, difficult decisions, and performances that demanded everything she had to give. Behind every trophy stood thousands of hours of work that audiences never witnessed. Perhaps even more touching were the reminders of the relationship she had always valued above her career. Bonnie Tyler and Robert Sullivan had been married since 1973, sharing more than 5 decades together. Their marriage endured through changing musical trends, worldwide fame, demanding schedules, and the many challenges that accompany a life lived in public. Friends often described Robert as Bonnie's anchor. While she stood beneath stage lights, he preferred life away from cameras. Their partnership became one of the music industry's rare examples of lasting stability, built not on headlines but on quiet commitment. For her family, the memories of that relationship mattered far more than any financial asset. There were also the gifts she had received from fans throughout the years. While many celebrities received thousands of presents during their careers, Bonnie developed a reputation for appreciating even the smallest gestures. Handmade artwork, letters describing how her songs had helped listeners through heartbreak, illness, military service, personal loss, and moments of hope reflected the extraordinary bond she shared with people she had never actually met. Those letters may never appear in museums or auction houses. Yet they reveal something that chart positions never could. Again and again, people thanked Bonnie for giving them strength during the darkest periods of their lives. Some wrote that total eclipse of the heart reminded them of someone they loved. Others said, holding out for a hero encouraged them to keep fighting through difficult circumstances. Many simply wanted her to know that her voice had become part of their own family's story. For any artist, there can be no greater recognition than that. Looking back over Bonnie Tyler's remarkable life, one truth becomes impossible to ignore. Her greatest achievement was never a #1 single. It was never platinum sales, sold-out arenas, or international awards. Those accomplishments secured her place in music history, but they were not the greatest treasure she left behind. Her true legacy lives inside millions of ordinary lives she never personally witnessed. It lives in couples who danced to her songs decades ago and still play them today. It lives in parents who introduced her music to their children, who in turn have shared it with another generation. It lives in aspiring singers who discovered that imperfections can become strengths, remembering how vocal cord surgery permanently changed Bonnie's voice yet ultimately created one of the most distinctive sounds in modern music. What once seemed like the greatest obstacle of her career became the very quality that made her unforgettable. That lesson may be one of the most powerful gifts she ever gave the world. Her life proved that setbacks do not always end a dream. Sometimes they reshape it into something even more extraordinary. Today, Bonnie Tyler's recordings continue reaching listeners across streaming platforms, radio stations, films, television, and live performances around the world. New audiences continue discovering songs first released decades ago, while longtime fans find fresh meaning in lyrics they have known for years. The voice that once filled concert halls has fallen silent, but the emotion inside those recordings remains exactly as it was the day she first stepped into the studio. In the end, what Bonnie Tyler left behind was never hidden inside a safe, locked away in a vault, or measured by the value of an estate. It was found in the memories she created, the resilience she embodied, the love she shared with those closest to her, and the countless lives forever connected to the songs she gave the world. Legends do not disappear when the final curtain falls. They continue living every time someone presses play, sings along in the car, remembers a special moment, or finds comfort in a familiar voice during life's hardest days. Bonnie Tyler's voice may have grown quiet on July 8, 2026, but her music continues to speak with the same honesty, strength, and passion that made the world fall in love with her in the first place. If Bonnie Tyler's music has ever meant something special to you, share your favorite song or memory in the comments below. We'd love to hear how her incredible voice became part of your own story. And thank you for joining us in celebrating the remarkable life of a woman whose greatest legacy was never what she owned, but what she gave to the world.